So I want to start by introducing them, and then I've got some questions, and then of course I really want to open the floor, and you feel free to grill them, right? Ask them all sorts of questions that are coming to your mind in terms of research careers and industry, because that's really what this PhD school is about, what many of the training centers are about, right? So here's our opportunity. So my pleasure to introduce first Kim. So I met Kim 3 years ago at the first PhD school for CIRES, and Kim has been attending all 3 PhD schools, and it's a delight to see her every time and all the great questions that you ask. So Kim is a PhD student at the Computer Science School at University of Sydney. Any other USyd students here? One, it seems.
Yes.
And developing probabilistic machine learning models for geoscience and climate applications, you would remember from her 3M team. And during her candidature, Kim has focused on applications of kernel methods to the Antarctic ice sheet, including super resolution of Antarctica's subglacial bed topography. Lots of big words. Spatial temporal modeling of ice loss, efficient sensor placement, and inferring causality. Holy grail from ice core data. So very data driven, I can see. Her research leverages uncertainty-aware methods, and I know there have been several students who are working on uncertainty quantification. And her research interests include geospatial modeling, remote sensing, transfer learning, Bayesian methods, and diffusion models. Supervised by Fabio Ramos and Associate Professor Roman Marchant from UTS. Kim is also the member of another industry transformation training center for data analytics for resources and environments, DARE, and a proud co-founder of ML for cryo, machine learning for the, am I saying it correctly?
Yes.
Cryo. Okay, very good. Kim, perhaps we can start with your introduction, and then I will go one by one. Would you like to introduce yourself for, short introduction, 30 seconds? You are here because, and in regards to information resilience and the future, I feel.
Yes, thank you so much, Shazia. Of course, pretty much everything was already in there that is important about me. Yes, I am here because I've really enjoyed my experience at the previous 2 CIRES information resilience schools. I met people that we invited to our center to give seminars, and really connected with people that are both in not exactly my field, but also that had a fair bit of overlap, which was really interesting to just have peers that you can talk about and ask what they're looking into, where they're publishing, or what's helped them. So I guess that's why I'm here again, and it's been a great pleasure once again, and very successful, I think. So I guess information resilience has a lot of, there's people here working on quite diverse topics, but it is very important in the climate setting, of course, but also the more uncertainty aspects of it, that you can't measure everything, and that the data is pretty complicated, and you have to work with the data creators to probably build valuable research that makes realistic outputs and is not overstating things.
Indeed. Yep.
So
it's paid off, all this training. Nothing about it already. So then my pleasure to introduce Solmaz Abdi. So Solmaz did her PhD with me and Hassan Khosrawi, who was running the escape room yesterday. So currently working as a senior data scientist at the Australian Energy Market Operator, PhD in computer science from University of Queensland. Solmaz's experience spans across different disciplines, including educational technology and the energy sector. So PhD in education, now in energy. Currently at, we call it AEMO, so Australian Energy Market Operator. She directs the creation of electricity and gas demand forecasts for the national electricity market. And previous Solmaz was actually working here after a PhD in charge of learning analytics at UQ, and focused and actually led quite a few initiatives that use data to enhance educational outcomes. And Solmaz has a strong research background at the intersection of education and machine learning, including adaptive learning systems, recommender systems, we've heard quite a bit about them, for educational applications, so in that setting, and the development of predictive models that enhance learner engagement and performance. So a very excellent example of discipline hopping, right? So where computer science and data management is sort of at the core of Solmaz's expertise, but the ease with which she is able to hop from the educational setting to the energy setting. Solmaz, a few words from you.
Thank you very much, Shazia. Hello, everyone. I think you did a very complete introduction. I'm here today because UQ has been my second home for so many years, and it's an exciting opportunity for me to be here. And one of my reasons was that I've been in the same position, and my career has taken me through so many different paths, from doing my undergrad and a master's in electrical engineering, and then doing my PhD in computer science and learning analytics, which was totally different to me, working for a few years in this area, and then moving to energy sector again. And each of these steps have actually shaped different types of skills, and I thought it would be very good that I share some of the experience that I have and also learn from each of you. Thank you. And from the information resilience, I think beyond the data systems that we work on a daily basis with, from the personal aspect, I think it's about being open to new opportunities. And as a researcher, we don't need to always just work in one field. We can take what we have learned from one discipline and then apply it to a different one. So it means that being open and adaptable to new opportunities. Yeah, thank you.
Very different take on transfer learning, but so excuse the pun there. All right, and now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Lei Han. So Lei was also a PhD student here at UQ, and then was a postdoc at CIRES. And the Queensland Police Service is actually one of our partners in CIRES, and it's such a success story where our early career researchers are then moving into research careers in industry. So currently, Lei is working as a senior statistical data analyst at QPS, Queensland Police, where he leverages data science techniques to optimize decision-making outcomes. PhD in 2021, and then worked as a postdoc with us. So Lei's previous work focused on human computation and involved designing systems that utilize crowdsourcing data to tackle several real-world challenges. And he's included human-machine hybrid systems where humans assist machines, and we had a big keynote on that also with regards to recommender systems yesterday. And now at QPS, Lei combines his academic background and his practical experience in bridging that gap between research and industry needs, translating those innovation findings into actionable insights, and continues to explore ways to apply data science to solve these complex industry problems. So Lei, a few words from you.
Thank you, Shazia, for your kind words to introduce me. I'm here because I got the invitation last week, and I accept that, so I'm here today. Just joking. I think I'm here because of my background. I have been working in academics for 6 years, from 2018 to the end of 2023, and now I'm working in the industry. And but also before I came to UQ, before 2018, I've been working in the software industry in different countries for almost 10 years. So because of my background, so I have the understanding of the difference between academics and the industry. So I know what is the gaps there, and I also know how to make the skills you have learned during your PhD and make that transferable and apply that in the real industry. And in terms of information resilience and the future, so in my opinion, I have a strong feeling of that data science has been playing an important role in our daily life, and we all make the data-driven results. For example, from the policy making, from medical diagnosis in hospitals, and also for your daily life, like food delivery recommendations. I just see that the DoorDash is hiring data scientists for their recommender algorithms. So I would say that in the future, I believe in the next 5 or 10 years, there are plenty of opportunities for us to explore the world with data science. So we are lucky we are studying data science.
Yes. Thank you very much. They're both explicit. Of course, a lot of the work that many of you are doing is very explicitly data-driven, but there's all these implicit instances of data-driven work and indeed, advanced technologies, machine learning, even AI, that we don't even think about it, but we know it's embedded in our everyday lives. So very well said, Lei. So Lei, if I can continue with you.
Yes.
So you're now working in the public sector.
Yes.
Right? And it has a very different pace.
Yes.
There are many focuses on citizen support. There's also many constraints in the public sector. So how do you see your research training helping you in your current work?
Right. So, of course, I spent 6 years in UQ, so everything happening here has helped me a lot for my career in the real industry. So today I don't want to say a lot of that, but I just want to focus on 3 things. The first is the technical skills. So when I was in UQ, I was involved in different kind of work to process the data, from the experiment design to collect the data and process the data to create the analysis and modeling, and after that I will write up the findings in scientific research papers and publish that. And also I need to do some presentations. All these things have helped me a lot to develop my technical skills. So I can give you an example. The first week when I arrived in QPS police building, I was told that I cannot install any library from Python. Then I may think about, how can I do that work? I don't know. So I need to do that from scratch by myself. So one of the requests asked me to get for example, the offenses happening in a specific boundary in that area. But I cannot use any library. I need to write that. So I see there are a lot of libraries from Stack Overflow, the standard Python library to do that. But now I cannot install that. I need to write it by myself. Then I think about, how can I get back to the original math formula to understand that, how to realize that using my programming skills. So that kind of skill you need to have, and you need to be prepared for any environmental change, and you need to adjust yourself into the new environment in the working context. That is the technical skills. Second one is the critical thinking skills. Critical thinking skills, to me, it's a bit like we need to be able to always raise any questions. So in a research environment, we can raise questions something like, who is doing what for whom, why? This is the typical research question, a simple way to raise the research question. But the ability to raise questions is your skills. So I remember that the first week in QPS, I was given some requests. The request can be as simple as one question, like how many offenses was committed last year in Queensland against a person. I know it's a number. We need to count something. But what should I count? How can I count that? I can get the data from the database. Should I count them one by one or something? So all these are questions. So I raise the questions by myself, and then I need to do some research to answer these questions. For example, I can look for some old jobs doing similar things. Then I see what is the SQL, SQL code to process that. Then I see like SQL statements, select some columns from some table in the drawing on some condition or to get that. So select some columns. Why should we select these columns? And how does it related to the question being asked? All these are questions. And sometimes I see select column, and I also see select distinct column. So this distinct, these keywords is to remove duplicates. Why is it duplicate there? And how the duplicates come out. So if the duplicate is there, we are double counted, but we need to remove that. But how we need to understand how it's come out. So all these are questions. Then what I want to say is that we need to be able to raise questions, always raise questions for everything we see. Then you will have a better understanding of what you are doing. There's a second thing. The third is the communication skills. So in the research environment, we need to, for example, do the experiment. We need to explain what we are doing to the participants. They may or may not have the background the same as your background. They may not understand what you are doing, what is your topic, what's your major. So we need to explain to them. And when we write up the research paper, that is another kind of communication. We need to convey our message to the target audience. The target audience can be domain experts, or in the presentation, there are a more broader audience who has some knowledge of your domain, but not the expert in the particular topic you are doing. So we need to be able to communicate with all these different audience. Then now I have that skills. I know how to do the communication. Then when I write some report, for example, we see there are some public available open data published on the QPS website. And we also need to write a short description of what the data is about. Then it's a kind of communication. You need to write something that clearly convey how this data is generated. Otherwise, they can never understand what it is. So all these are skills, and they are transferable whatever you are doing, and very important.
Very nicely, yeah. I particularly like your point about, okay, there are duplicates, so of course I can just use distinct for it, but why are they there in the first place?
Yes.
Right, so that's your critical thing, that's
Yes.
your research hat on.
Yes.
Very nice, thank you so much for your response. Solmaz, so, well, congratulations on your new role, of course.
Thank you.
Now, these companies are on the cutting edge of energy transition, a very, very important, consideration of our times. And your prior work was on learning analytics and personalized education, also very important, phenomena of our time. So when you make the switch, when you switch the context, tell us, was it challenging, was it exciting, or a bit of both? How have you navigated that?
So to give some context about what AMO does, AMO plays a central role in operating Australia's electricity and gas systems and market. And I would say that it was extremely challenging, both exciting and challenging. At the first, it was very challenging. And the reason was that I had to learn about those complex dynamics of energy markets, how those markets operate, the impact of climate change, policy changes. These are the details that we are not faced, for example, in energy sector while I was working in education. And so this means that, as Lei said, beside the technical expertise as a data science in any domain, it is required to be open to be faced with different types of data and being able to adapt with these different environments. And it was very challenging for me to understand the market behavior, the impact of climate change, or what each of those changes in policy impacts the demand forecast that we make. But at the same time, it was very rewarding for me because I was able to apply the skills that I had gained in a different domain to a different sector now. And I can see that this new area has also impact on the national infrastructure, and I'm contributing to the transition of Australia to sustainable energy, which is at the same time very exciting.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And you know, if you remember Tim's talk yesterday, he was trying to say, find your mission, right? Find your big goal, and then that inspires you and that motivates you, and then you put your skills to the best use for that mission, right?
Exactly.
So even though you work for 5-6 years in
7
years in learning analytics, but the skill set that you developed over there, and now you feel inspired to work in this, really impactful sector, and fantastic. We're really proud of you, Solmaz.
Thank you so
It's
much.
great work. Yeah.
Thank you. And maybe one thing that, as Lei also mentioned, that one of the very important skills, because we are all technical people, very well grounded in what we do, but what is very important is to polish the communication skills. And it's something that I learned during my PhD from my supervisors, that it is at the end, when your PhD is finished and you want to enter the job market, whether it is academia or industry, what is very important is that we have good communication skills to be able to communicate with different stakeholders, and also to convey your message properly. So this is something that I think for me, it played a key role in having a smooth transition from one industry into another.
Yes, very important point, of course, communication. Yeah.
Maybe
all
I
right.
can even speak to
Yes,
one point
please,
there, if I may.
Yes.
Because I'm still in my PhD, as you all know, in my final year of it, with the transfer of skills and being open to new opportunity, what you just said, I'm trying to also look at my PhD as the different skills that I've learned so far, and try to abstract it a bit more. So my PhD is applied, as I think are a lot of people's PhDs here, or research projects. So I try to think about, yes, of course, I've developed expertise in my application field, which has been really fun with Antarctica and talking to glaciologists and so on. But in terms of the methods, if we just separate that out, it's mainly spatial modeling, but also methods like Bayesian optimization, which can be very easily transferred to a lot of other different problems as well. So if I look at that skill being acquired there for modeling certain things, you could also use Bayesian optimization for hyperparameter optimization within machine learning, but also to position supermarkets in an ideal way, similar to placing sensors that measure an environmental variable, but thinking about how could I transfer the skills that I have maybe in a setting that's less obvious.
Yes, indeed. There is different ways to think about applied. I think there is an old school way to think about applied as not being real science, right? And thinking that the discovery work, whereas it's very, very important, discovery work is, we have great examples like the mRNA work that was happening for 40 years. If it hadn't been funded, that discovery work for 40 years, we wouldn't have had a COVID vaccine in time, right? So not undermining the importance of that, but Kim, you did say it very beautifully, in the sense that when you are putting your skills into some application area, it is broadening your skill set, right? But it's also providing context, which makes it, somehow more relatable. If you try and explain it to somebody what you're doing, it makes it more relatable. How about your work in DARE? How has that, helped you? So in a sense, from the first time we met, you were first year, then second year, and now third year. And I know that DARE you're not fully in DARE, just a component of that. But that's where some of the context is coming from.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I think it has been really good to interact with industry partners and different stakeholders through DARE, but also honestly at conferences where there's companies there, at machine learning conferences, there's a big presence of that, and more, I think, developing those communication skills of talking to people that are either fully industry and more like consulting people, or fully science people, and understanding more through experience and building that confidence of how do I communicate and get the point across and what's important. And yeah, with DEA, one of the transfer examples was that we worked as a team of DEA postdocs, but also a couple of students on another project that was more for the mining industry. So whereas I do like inversion of the subsurface and try to understand what's under the Antarctic ice sheet in my PhD project, there we transferred like using similar methods to infer mineral densities. So that was one example where it was cool, but also a lot of learnings of, for example, with the data. So then providing the data to geologists, it was very clear some things what was meant with it. But as a data scientist, never having worked in this field, there was a lot of learning, and it needed a lot of like iterations, talking to the right people, to also like talking to data provenance, and that it's really important to understand how was the data generated and what does it actually mean to solve those problems with a bit more insight and not miss the point.
Yes.
So that was an interesting project, and working in a team as well.
Yeah.
That was good.
So
with DEA.
communication and collaboration.
Yeah.
And to take any big problem, it's anything worthwhile is never going to be easy, right? So the ability to work in a team, both from a communication and collaboration point of view, is so important to actually tackle these big problems. All right. I'm just going to pause here for a minute to see if there are any questions from the audience for your peers. You can ask them any questions that that you were thinking about, but thinking that all the speakers were like 20 years into their career, they wouldn't relate to this question, but these guys would, right? So there you go, Daniel.
I guess anyone can answer this if anyone's got any burning opinions. If you could restart your PhD and change one thing, what would it be? You have a chance to change or do something differently.
I personally wouldn't change anything because I had great experience here at UQ. I wasn't feeling like this when I was actually a PhD student because of the pressure. But now I think I wouldn't change anything because all of those, like Hassan was always pushing me to go to presentation, present something, share your work. But I was always shy and hesitant. I didn't want to do that. But now I can understand the value of what he has done for me. And UQ has been very generous to me. I've had great opportunities here, so I wouldn't change anything from that.
Well, the microphone is with me, so let me say something that's the real experience. So my wife was doing anthropology. She has a PhD now, and my influence, she started to do some master course in data science. So if I want to restart, I would probably keep the same thing because I see the vast opportunity of data science, and in the next 5-10 years, this will not change. This is my opinion.
I mean, I'm still doing my PhD. I'm very much enjoying it. But one thing I would probably start a little bit earlier is to be even more proactive. I do think I've seeked out more opportunities recently, but I was a bit shy to, for example, just email people in the field that are maybe leading because I was like, they won't have time for my email, and like, who am I to email them? But from experience now, people are really helpful, and I'm like, I should have just emailed them straight away. Of course, it's nice to have a prepared email and to show that you've already put a lot of effort into it. But in hindsight, I would do that much more often because people are sometimes busy, but often they would actually help you. And it's better to just try. You have nothing to lose, and reach out to the people that are maybe where you want to be, or that are like experts very much in the field and could be providing a lot of value very quickly. And although AI systems save a lot of time, humans might save you even more time than that.
Oh, nicely said. Very good, Richard. Very good. Nice, nice. Okay, so yeah, I mean, everybody's busy, but people, you know, in the scientific community, you know, of course there are exceptions, but by and large, they love to communicate with the younger sort of PhDs, and if I get such a message from a PhD student, I don't know, in Norway or somewhere, to say, I read this paper, I'm really interested in this and this, I mean, that will make my day, right? Mm-hmm. And I would love to communicate and speak to that student. So yeah, do not hesitate to do that. But yeah, we are all busy, and this too would take some time, and maybe I can you know, ask Lei from a time management perspective. Yes. Actually. So you know, there are. I remember we had a meeting some weeks ago, and you were on call with your phone there because budget estimates was going on.
Yes.
And you had to produce that result. You know, if there's a minister asked for something, and you had to produce it like in 3 minutes, get it out, right? Mm. Whereas research is a longer-term game,
yes.
Right? And we always say, you know, take your time, put the rigor, you know, do it properly. So share with us some of your insights on balancing these two sort of different ways of getting work done.
Yes, so there are, actually we provide data, so our products are data, like spreadsheet or table or something. So we provide data. So we provide data to two types of customers and with two different purposes. One customer is that we provide as a publication. Like we publish data to the parliament, to the minister office, to the general public, like news agencies, like police media. So we also provide data to other departments, government departments like Youth Justice Department. So all these are publications, and we require that all the data coming from my group would be certified. That means that it should be accurate at the time of it is produced. So we know we cannot make any error in such data publication, and we know when it may happen. Like now we have the new premier, Krista Foley. He said that he will focus on juvenile crime. And now when we heard that, then we start to produce something in advance. For example, we can take the snapshot of the database, put it there, and pre-compute some result there. If we can predict what he wants, but we cannot predict what he wants, but we can have some pre-computed results there, and the data is there waiting for us to create the final result. So this is one thing that we can do in advance, that is to be well prepared for different things. So that requires you to have an open mind. You are not the only one living in the world. So when you do your research, please do get some time to be open to also listen to other voices. That is important. Otherwise, you don't know what will happen. And that's one kind of publication. And the other is the internal use of the data. So for internal use of data, we just want to know, for example, the trend of the crime comparing this year and last year. So we just want to show such things, and we can build some automation, like we can build a dashboard. We can, at least in R, I know there is a thing that is called interactive documentation, and you can put a template there and get the data from the database and renew the, refresh the document. It will create the new numbers with new figures. So that is something we can do in advance to meet the time management requirement. If we have a very tight deadline and we have a very short notice, but we have already something there to show them to get some quick look of the data. That is possible. So what I want to say is that we should be well prepared for the changing world, and we have different strategies of that. So we need to think, that is raised questions, as I said before. We need to always raise questions for whatever world we see.
Yeah. Thank you, Lei. Yeah, these are really good insights. And for those of you coming interested, I don't know if this was coming through your news feeds, but we just had an election in Queensland, you know, day before the PhD school started, and so there's been a change of government. We've got the LNP government, and the new premier is very hard on youth crime, so adult time for
Yes.
adult crime, right? And so obviously that is going to be high on the agenda, and the police data is going to be instrumental.
Yes.
So again, thinking like a true researcher, is about preempting those questions, right? You expect that
Yes.
there will be calls for, different types of products
Yes.
and insights out of, put on top of the analytics team at QTS.
Yes.
So it's just like, you're doing a literature review, and you try to draw out some questions. You sort of predict this is going to be an important question in the body of knowledge for
Yes,
the
exactly.
future. So you see the connection between research training and being successful in industry. And also, Solmaz, for your work, these both in learning analytics and now in energy transition. I know you are new in the energy sector, but would love to hear from you about, something that you feel particularly proud about in terms of some impact that you had.
Yeah. It's the project that I did during my PhD. During my PhD, I was working on learner models for adaptive learning systems. And what makes me very proud about my PhD time is that the model that I had developed was being used as part of an authentic adaptive learning system that is being developed at UQ. The name is Ripple, and the model that I had worked has been used in practice. It was the earliest stage of that platform, and I'm sure that now it has progressed a lot, and I'm not sure what is the model behind it currently. But to see the real-world application of my research was, and still it is, very exciting for me. And that's why I'm so proud of Ripple, and I always follow up the news about it, and I always ask Hassan, what is it about Ripple now? What is the state? So yeah, I think seeing the impact of our research in practice is something that was very proud for me.
Yes, and Ripple is getting many awards and doing some great things. You'd be happy to know.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was a small part of it at the
A big
beginning
part,
of
big part,
Ripple, but
yes.
yeah.
Kim, do you want to add anything to that?
By the way, we used it last PhD school. Ripple with Hassan in the interactive session.
Oh, wow.
We did a data challenge. Yes.
Oh, wow,
A data
that's
literacy
very
challenge.
good.
Did it?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's very good to hear.
Yes. Kim,
Um,
words from you about impact or?
Yeah, there was I might speak also to the time management thing, if that's okay.
Yes.
I think during a PhD, we talked about it yesterday a little bit as well, it's almost more about learning how to manage your productivity a bit more than managing your time. And I hope that those learnings about yourself as well, like how you are productive, will help in the career afterwards. So that's one thing. Another thing I would say is you can do anything, but you can't do everything. So learning how to prioritize and what's important about managing time, that's what it comes down to.
Yes, I like that.
Yeah.
Anything and everything, yes. Okay, any more questions from the audience? No?
I have a simple question.
Go for it.
Thank you for all your advice. I'm really curious to know that when it is time to apply for industry for a job, that when we are submit our thesis, when we are writing our thesis, when it is a good time to apply?
Maybe you are in a better position because I started my job when I was at the second year of my PhD, so maybe you are in a better position to.
Right. So my personal opinion is that we had an election just happening last week. So before that, a lot of companies, a lot of department, in the public sector would wait for the new government coming, so they may not hire people at that time. But now the new government has come, and they have some new policies coming out in the next few weeks. So maybe they will hire more people to target that part. Maybe in the next few months is a good time to start. This personal opinion. So that's why I said before, so we should have an open mind to what's happening around us. Otherwise, we don't know what's happening.
Yeah, both the internal and external, right? So
Yes.
we need to be somewhat aware of what's going on around and where the job opportunities are, but also the timing has to work for you, right? Yeah, good question. Yes.
I have a question from Solmaz. She said that she has started working from the second. I mean, you were working and you were studying both together. How you managed that?
Yeah, I started working full time as a data scientist at UQ after I finished my second year of PhD. Actually, the last year was a part-time PhD and full-time job. It was extremely hard, and I'm not sure if it's something that I recommend because I had to sacrifice all of my weekends to work on my PhD and working full-time during the week. But it needed time management and knowing where I can save time to focus more on my research, and it was very, very challenging. And I'm not sure if it's something that I recommend.
Yes, that can get tough.
It was very tough.
Yes.
I actually panicked for the first few months because I had to spend a lot on my PhD, on my research. It was highly valued to me. And then at the beginning of my job, I had to put my focus on the new role. And I panicked that, did I make the right decision to put a pause on that? But I had the support of my supervisors, and they helped me a lot to how to manage my time and where to invest my time to being able to finish my PhD.
It's done. In the end, it's done.
Yeah.
All right. Any more? Neeraj?
Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone. So I just wanted to ask a general question. How important is networking in the transition from academia to industry? If yes, how can we start building our network? Like what you suggest, what you guys suggest?
Yeah, I guess I'm working on that. With the proactive part, I guess there's opportunities coming your way, but also there's a lot of things that you can kind of seek out proactively. I organize a reading group there. We even get emails from people that want to present at our reading group, which is nice. But that way, if you want to do a postdoc, for example, that would be a good way to get in touch there. But there's a lot of meetups, especially if you're more interested into industry. In Sydney, I don't know exactly about Brisbane, but a lot of the big tech companies do events which are pretty easygoing environment to just listen to some talk and then talk to people there. And maybe you meet some people that are doing what you're interested in. I feel like going by role models is often easier. If you find someone where you just develop a feeling what they do for work and how they describe it sounds like something that I want to do, or I want to kind of be like them in 10 years, I think that really helps a lot to navigate a bit more what you want to do.
Nice. Anybody wants to add?
I think it's very, very important to do networking. And I would say that most of the opportunities that came across my way was because of the networking. It increases your chance of landing a job that you want. And to do that, one of the good ways is to attend, if you are more interested in, or even if you are more interested in industry, it's very good to use the opportunity to attend different conferences, events, and at UQ we have lots of opportunities like this. Or use the meetups, and also you can leverage LinkedIn to connect with people that you are interested in their area, directly message them. Most of the time, we are not feeling comfortable to do that, but people are generally very open to connect with you and guide you. So LinkedIn is also a good source of connecting with different people.
Well, microphone comes to me again. So I need to say something. I should acknowledge that for this type of question, I'm a very negative example of networking. You see, I don't have Facebook, I don't have Instagram, I don't have LinkedIn, I don't have personal website. I just closed down that. So you can probably find nothing from the internet of me. So it's really negative example. But what I want to say is that please be prepared for all kinds of things. You just need to improve yourself. And I can remember during the job interview for different positions, the QPS is not the only one I applied for the job. I applied for, more than 55 jobs last year, and I finally get one. And so just keep going and improve yourself. And previously, I need to thank Gianluca because we teach a course together, and I have the opportunity to teach the course at UQ for master students and undergraduate, maybe. And so I practiced a lot, and each time when I was in the job interview, it's a bit like I gave lectures. So I can talk about whatever I want to talk about. So it just shows that I have the confidence that I know everything, I know what you know, what I know, also know what you don't know. So, so that's kind of improve yourself is important so you can get an outstanding impression in your job interview. Then if they think you are good enough, you can get the job. And after you landed the job, you also have the opportunity to share your experience, to give some talk, small talk, to share your knowledge about different things. The reality is that if you know a lot of things, other people will come to you to ask you questions. Then it's a bit of building the network from there. So it's a bit a negative example, but I think it worked for me.
Yes, not negative, just different. Networking comes in many different shapes and forms. Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I was thinking about, of course, your supervisor's network is a great resource. And even just seeing people that were maybe in your group, in your vicinity, in your lab, that have graduated and where they have landed, because probably their research topics were quite similar and maybe their interests are quite similar. That's a really big network, and they might also just be able to put you in touch with someone else that might be more relevant for where you want to pivot. But that's a huge leverage. And I've been working with other PhD students that are in my niche, but even with their supervisor network now, I feel like I have a better understanding of what could be interesting opportunities for me in the space. So of course, again, people are really important, and leveraging that network that you might already have.
That's a really good tip, actually. Yeah, your supervisor's network, and then your peers network, and then, of course, in your lab, in your research group, you will have students at different level, in different stages of their candidature. Some of them will go on to become postdocs, maybe at a sister university, and then their network also becomes accessible to you. That's a really good tip. More questions? Alice?
Thanks for sharing your experience. And I have a question to Solmaz. You talked about communication skills. That's one of the most important things in your career progression. So, as PhD, we have a more linear communication with our supervisor. When we talk to them, they know our research context. But when you transit to an industry, when you have the chance to share your ideas with the stakeholders or other non-technician colleagues, can you give us some kind of tips for storytelling when you're sharing your ideas to the non-technician audience, and how you communicate your ideas with them?
Yeah, very good question. So I think the first key thing when sharing your ideas with someone is first to understand who your audience are, whether they are technical people or are they or do they have like that technical background, or they are general audience. And then based on the type of audience that you have, you would tune your presentation based on that. If they are technical, you can definitely, similar to what we do in our PhD, we use technical jargons or whatever they are. But when you find that they are stakeholders, that they don't have that technical background, you should adjust your storytelling based on giving them some high-level technical idea behind what you are presenting, but trying to communicate your message with like simple plots or focusing on the key messages that you want to convey instead of how you have done it or giving them so much information that they are not interested to. So I think the key in a storytelling is to knowing your audience and then adjusting based on that.
So know your audience, absolutely. Yeah. And you know, Alice and others, that in research, we are really proud of our rigor. So the methodological rigor is something that we feel very strongly about. So we have a tendency to start our presentations from how we did it, rather than what we did. And so for a non-technical audience or for a business audience or a generalist, they are not interested, right? And most of it would also be very hard for them to follow. So then it's in journalism, there is this concept of inverted pyramid, right? You start with your outcome, right? We often start with the research question, and then we have a long story about this data collection and this analysis and everything, and then in the last 5 minutes when we're running out of time, we actually talk about then, so what? What did we find, right? So just flipping that over onto its head and starting with what is it that you are trying to, what were the findings is often a good strategy as well. All right. Any more questions? We probably have time for maybe one more. Yes.
This is for Solmaz and Lei. How come you chose to go into industry instead of staying active?
I came to that understanding about myself that I'm better positioned to do industry job at this stage of my life. Maybe in few years I change my mind and go back to academia again. But I found that at this stage, industry better suits my career that I have imagined for myself, and I made that decision to this is what I want to do currently, but it's something that might change in near future.
Well, let me add something. So to me, I never do something I hate. I just do something I like. And I don't have the personal preference between academic and industry. So whatever I do, as long as I like it, then I can do it well. So if you ask me to do something like software development, maybe I don't like that, so I will not do that. But for data analysis, I like that. So whether I do it in the academic environment or doing in the industry, I don't care. So it's just, to me, it just, this offer comes as the earliest, so I picked it up. And right, this is a permanent position, and if I apply for a tenure position in the university environment, it may take me 5 more years to get that, and it's quicker. So a lot of factors can influence my decision. But what I want to say is that I only pick up the things I like to do. And if I like it, well, wherever I do that, I can do it well. So you just need to understand what you want. Yeah.
Kim, do you want to add anything to that? I know you're still in your PhD. Yes, that's very good. Perhaps we should do a wrap up now. All 3 of you have got, really outstanding success stories, whether you moved on from your PhDs, but even within your PhD, Kim, you're doing amazing things. And Solmaz, you mentioned quite a few times, both of you, about your supervisor and the university environment and the opportunities. So if I give you 30 seconds, each one of you, you tell us what you are thankful for, either during your PhD or at this stage in your career. Whoever wants to start.
Well, 30 seconds is not enough. Yeah, so if you have ever read my I recommend you to read my thesis, these 230 pages. On page number 7, you will see at least 20 people there. So I want to say thank you to a lot of people. But if you just ask me to say something in 30 seconds, I would thank for Gabriela Kazai, who was the external examiner for my thesis, and she was really tough. I have 230 pages, and she raised 200 questions on each of the pages. So at that time, that was very tough because in the final few months, you will finish, but before that, you have a very painful experience of that, how to tackle that. If you fail that, you will get a master, not a PhD. So, but the good thing is that if you can tackle these tough people, then you can beat everyone in the world. No one can block you. So you get your confidence to do whatever you want. So I would like to thank her.
Very interesting. Yeah. I'm very thankful to the mentorship that I had received from my PhD supervisors, Professor Sadiq and Professor Hassan Khosravi. And what is really valuable for me from that time is that both of them always encourage me to think beyond the research that I'm doing and think about the real application of what I'm doing. And this is, I think, what helped me to survive when I changed the industry. And also, it was my PhD supervisors that encouraged me to polish on my soft skills, because it was something that at the beginning I didn't have it at all. And they were the ones that encouraged me to come out of my comfort zone and work on my communication skills, on my collaboration and teamwork skills. And these are the skills that are as important as the technical skills, especially when our PhD is finished and we need to work with stakeholders from different backgrounds. And these are the most important takeaways from my time of doing PhD.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm grateful for a lot of things as well, but I think it boils down to the people, because I think in 10 years' time, I won't remember the problem I had in my code, not fixing something, but more the people and the relationships you build out of it. And from my perspective right now, I'm trying to value the things that I might have now that could change, like having a fair bit of freedom in your PhD, having that nice self-selection bias of having cool people around you and very interesting and inspiring people where you can have talk more about ideas and about intellectual things that other friends of you might not want to talk about and not understand. And that's really special, and you might not have that forever, so I'm trying to just be very grateful for it. And people within the team, supervisors, but also collaborators, good people, so happy about that.
Very nicely wrapped up there. Thank you, all of you. And we are very thankful for your time and giving us your time to come and talk to us about your experiences. It's been really insightful and really a pleasure to see all of you, on these growth trajectories that certainly make us very proud. So everybody, can you join me in thanking our panel members?